What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to flip the script. I interviewed John a few episodes ago, and now he's going to interview me. What do you think, John?
It's going to be interesting because I think when you talk on the same panel as somebody, we all show off how we view business and transacting and all the things we talk about on Business and Biceps. But getting into the individual that gives the listener guidance and advice, I think it's kind of interesting because we're kind of peeling the onion back on who you, the listener, is listening to.
So now that you've went through it as the guy who got interviewed,
yeah.
What do you think, reflecting on it real quick?
I think that most people, and I'm not referring to you, would be too uncomfortable to be honest and giving to the listener. I think they would probably try to skirt over some things. And that's why I think hard questions are the most valuable questions, because that's where I believe the pieces really get put together.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, it's brought to you by LinkedIn, John. There's employers out there.
There's a lot of them.
There's
a lot of
70% of the world's on LinkedIn.
A lot of jobs, dude.
We want to make sure they get $50 off of their first job posting. All you employers out there, you must go to linkedin.com/biceps, and they will give you $50 off your first job post, because that's where everybody's at if you need to find talent.
That's where talent lives, dude. That's where talent lives.
You know where stock lives, John?
Stock lives in one place, Cory, and first you need to go to the App Store to obtain that place.
And that would be?
Robinhood.
Yes. Or you go to biceps.robinhood.com and redeem a free stock such as Apple, Ford, or Sprint, John.
Absolutely.
We love
We're giving you a
Robinhood.
free share of stock, and you do not pay trading fees at Robinhood. That's why you need to trade there.
All right. So, John, I'm handing it back over to you.
Hey, I'm leaning back. I didn't expect to lean back. What am I, like,
back.
Fat Joe?
I was going to say, drop it in there, Jeremy.
Yeah. You see this dance? What's up? All right, Cory, here we go. So, Cory hit me with some questions that I was not expecting. But
were you surprised with some of my questions, John?
Yes.
I really did think about it.
You know what? You know what I was surprised with? I was surprised with how deeply some of them made me think.
That's cool. That makes me feel good.
Yeah. So I feel like
that was my plan.
I feel like we got some good stuff. So good work.
Oh, good. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. So, all right. We all know Cory.
Here we go.
We all know the. I view you. I'm just going to give a little context. Is almost two people.
Okay.
and I don't know, and that's what I think I want to start. Where I want to start, if that's by design, or I don't know if that's by accident. So
can't wait to see where this goes.
yeah. So I'm so when it comes to your career, I think we all know the love of lifting weights.
Undeniable.
What it's done for you, how it dominates your mind. And then we know what you put out socially, because that's where you're ever present.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think a lot of your career has been built up. But then when you're talking to you on a level that most of the listeners don't get to talk to you on, or maybe none of them do, it's a much more reserved individual that is not bombastic or like so like I don't want to use the word motivated, because I know you're motivated on both levels, but do you feel that when you put out your professional self, you have to compromise some of your individual self?
I think, if I understand the question right,
I'm
naturally trying to think. I'm trying to decipher what you're asking, because if it's gym related stuff, I am a different person.
Explain that.
So I'm way more aggressive. Also in a coaching manner, like I'm more like, I challenge people differently. I'll yell at them. I'll call them out. I'm a different cat in the gym. That's why if you don't really experience me as a training partner at 4 a.m., you probably don't really know me all the way. So I think that would be like cool, for you to even come in and it's kind of like, it's a different arena for me. And I think that it's probably like, because it's probably like my actual true self at the end of the day, because that's what I'm so passionate about. That's what I love to do. I love competition. I love stepping up. I love challenging people. I like being fucking like, I just literally act like me completely. So I'm a little bit out of control. But that's the environment I know, because I've created my own environment. I can be that way. Can I do that at Lifetime Fitness? No. But I can do that at Old School Gym. And I think it's because it's the spot that I created to really be able to do this thing that I love so much exactly the way I want to do it. Gotcha. And so the guy that's out of the gym is more reserved, for sure. I think that I've always been that way. Like, I think I'm just a generally nice guy who cares. But I've gotten more direct through business. I think over time, you've helped me a ton with this, John. But the guy in the gym is a much more aggressive person, no question.
So
Jeremy could attest to that, probably.
what it sounds like, and I'm gonna follow this up with a question. Is It sounds like you have this environment you've created to be completely
free,
your free self.
Agreed.
So when you, and even you and I, but you on your own have done it too, create a business when you own it, you could and you should be able to be your free self. So what stops you from letting it all rip in a business atmosphere that you have either created or co-created versus letting it all rip in the gym?
Well, I think that it is my let it all rip. It's just different. It's not the same. It's not a 1-for-1. I think that, and I explained it the best way, is that lifting actually dominates my mind way more than business. Business is something that challenges me, and I do, but it's not what I get up and think about every day. I get up and think about lifting weights. I mean, straight up. I mean, it's the 100%, like, out of the gate. I'm not thinking about what we're selling or doing or creating. Gotcha. I think about, what am I lifting today first? And that's also, I think, good that I get to do it first, because I get it out of the way, and at 6 a.m., the other things can enter my mind. And because it's unadulterated time, or the time is not, like, no one can press on it. No one's calling me. No one's awake. I can literally be in that environment to be the gym guy, Cory, that I've always been. Ever since I've been in high school, I've been this guy. So I think you are getting, because we have created these environments, and actually at this point in my career, I'm probably the most open in business. The things that I used to do, I don't do anymore. I speak up more if there's something I really think about. I mean, you have a dominating personality, John, so that's like something that I'm glad I went through the business stuff I already went through, because I don't feel like it would have been more drastic if you met me years ago, to be honest with you. And not that you're doing that on purpose. It's just, that's just your personality. Sure. And so I think that you are getting the person both ways. I think they're different because of just me. I'm just different in those environments a little bit.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
It does. And before I move on,
is that hard for you to grasp, that the lifting is that important to me?
No. I understand it, and I think you've been very honest about that throughout, being partners and the podcast. But so if you sector, and this may be tough to answer, but I'm going to ask it. Like, you got yourself in the gym, and it sounds like the pure freedom that you feel in the gym.
Sure.
You have yourself in the office, and then there's this huge element of your life that's your family.
Sure.
Where are you most free, and what do you truly enjoy most?
I mean, the person at home is in between the two, because you can't
be non-politically correct.
No. I'm gonna get back to it. I'm not gonna dodge you. Yeah. The person at home has to be, like, as a dad, I can't act like a maniac like I do in the gym. But there's a portion of that that's present, because you should be scared of your dad, not in the manner that you had to deal with, Johnny. That no one should ever have to deal with that. But I think that there's an element of fear my grandfather put in me to stay straight and narrow. I have that with my kids, 1,000%, because I'm not afraid to check them like the guy in the gym. no question. Like, I don't censor myself. I'll call him out. I put pressure on him. I told Alex, like, the other day when he talked to his mom, like, I'll slap the shit out of you the next time you do that, and I will. Like, I'm not scared to. So that's more of the gym guy for sure. I think that the more reserved, it's just that I have like an interesting mix of personality because I am like a low key dude. But what turns me up is anything that's probably things that I know made me be the way that I am. I want to make sure that continues. Obviously, we're challenging ourselves to change the things that we didn't want. But I would say, I mean, I'm the most free in the gym. I mean, that's why when people ask me about getting up so early, it's not a non-factor. Because if think about this, John, if you love the art and the music, but if the only time you could do it really well was at 3:05, eventually you would do it at 3:05 a.m., right? No question.
Because it feeds your soul.
Correct.
Yes.
There you go. So that's really, so like people try to make it out to something other than it is. That's really what it is. Out of necessity for me to do those things in the most effective way, it's at 4 a.m.
Gotcha. So I remember when we first, at the beginning of our partnership, we were driving back from the office, and I specifically I was trying to get to the core of you, and this was probably 2 years ago, and you were a lot less open about talking about your dad.
Okay.
I could tell on you and your body language, you were uncomfortable.
Okay.
At least that's
I don't remember, but
how
go
I
ahead.
perceived it.
Sure.
So with your dad, like if someone were to ask you and you didn't have to run it through this filter of like, he was my dad, the intentions, the trying, do you think your dad was a good dad?
Oh, I don't think he was a good dad. I don't think he was a bad person though. I think that's a different. Like, I think similar to what you mentioned in yours, the ill-equipped nature of his parents died when he was young. He was an only child. I think there's a lot of things that contribute to it. And I think he was like bipolar or something, John. I think he had something that was untreated. If I think about, like, knowing what I know now, if I think back to just the way he operated, there's a lot of inconsistent things that would lead towards some type of, mental something. Maybe not at like an extreme level, but at a touch. And I think that, my great-grandfather, my grandfather died from a heart problem when he was like 17. My grandma died from an aneurysm when he was 18. So although they raised him, he had that his parents. He had back-to-back tragedies. He's an only child. I just don't know that he really knew how to love, if that's a thing. I mean, I really think that's...
I'll be the first to raise my hand.
Right, Johnny?
That's a thing.
And so I think that was it. And it's kind of sad. It's sad because you wish you could rekindle that, because no one should have to be like that.
Well, yeah, the question is why, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm your kid. Why can't you just...
And even with your dad, like, you could rival, did he not love you? He probably thought, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that my dad didn't love me.
No, I would be willing to bet that he loved you, and I'd be willing to bet my dad loves me.
Yeah.
But I don't believe, at least in my case, and probably in yours, even though I don't have background, they don't know how to love.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really what I kind of came onto.
Right.
And the ill-equipped nature of, and dude, these guys ain't developing themselves. Like, that's not a thing back then, bro. Like, that's like so like space cadet in their world. Both Italian, both that age group. I think my dad would be in like his like his mid-60s or something now if he's still alive. So I don't think he was a really that good of a dad. I just don't think he was. But I don't think he's a bad person.
So you said, like, from a structure standpoint, he kind of was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's part of the reason you're borderline, in a good way, obsessed with structure? He
was, but what's interesting is, though, he had a touch of whatever was going on with him was like that. It just wasn't around business. So my dad went to, and this is what I watched my whole life, the same 7-Eleven or whatever, the same restaurant, the same this, the same. Like, he was extremely regimented. And he was actually, he never drank, he never smoked, he always worked out. He was like eerily, as am I, consistent. But it was never towards anything that other than just life. It never had like a purpose behind it for business or for us or anything like that. It's just what it was. And so I think that part of what I picked up on was, well, shit, this dude's so consistent towards, I don't know what, just things he likes, I guess, or things he came on to somehow. What if I just do that, but it's means something? Right. I mean, that's kind of mean to say, but it's kind of the truth. And I think that I started to realize that, John, at a point where I was like, this is how my old man used to operate. I watched it my whole life. It just didn't have anything at the end, right, per se. There was no goals or aspirations that I was aware of anyway, which he probably wouldn't have shared them with me anyway, because it's not a style. Gotcha.
So I guess shifting gears, it's like you said early on, the nice guy thing, which, I think most people know you as, that know you. Do you think you pay a price, or let's say the nice guy in general pays a price when you go on and play in bigger levels of business?
For sure. 100%.
Explain.
I think that the nice guys always looked as weak, right? How many people deal with you and think you're weak?
Not many.
There you go, right? And whether it's the truth, whether it's the way you play it up, right, doesn't matter. It's just what it is, right? So, but I don't think I realized that back then, right? So I'm in the shark-infested water early in my career and not getting the respect. I really didn't have anything from the standpoint also, like I hadn't really proved myself, and even when I did, I still didn't get the respect because of the way I operate. So I think I'm never going to act like John, not act, be John. I can't. It's not inside of me. But I think there's an area in between that I just had to get better at, that I feel like in a comfortable nature. And if I have to flex on people now, I will. In still a respectful way and an assertive way. But yeah, I mean, that's part of growth, I think. But yeah, absolutely. Nice guys always are looked upon. Like, what's the fucking saying? Nice guys finish last. I don't think I'm finishing last anytime soon. But at the end of the day, I think that it is absolutely I think people would take advantage of you way faster. So there's a price to it. Has one of my main skills in business been able to get along and get things done because people want to be around me or whatever? Right. So that's a plus. But the negative is people will take advantage of you a lot faster. Like, they're scared to take advantage of you, John. They just can't. You know what I mean? But with me, they feel like they can. But I think I've done a better job as I gotten older to check that a little faster in most situations.
Yeah, it makes sense. And the reason
it's just the growth over time.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners struggle with that. I know almost everybody struggles with being firm.
For sure.
Just being firm.
I learned a lot of that from you. I've gotten way more comfortable since I've worked with you, in the same building, I think.
Yeah, because firm and respect, I think, can live together.
No question. It doesn't have to be. I think one of the best things I liked about you teaching me was it doesn't have to be confrontational. People think that it always does. Right. But being direct and knowing what time it is doesn't have to be confrontational at all. It's just what it is.
Right. So, so you're running Cory G Fitness, which does great things. You're doing great there. Mm-hmm. And then there's Max Effort Muscle. And then there's other projects. What would you say you like most about operating a solo business and then operating a business where there's a larger team involved?
I think that I always operated solo. So as you we talked about off camera multiple times, and I think that I had to learn how to work with a team. I think you've seen it. I mean, since we've worked together, like, it's changed quite a bit. What's interesting about my website business is I'm just really capturing the fitness crazy. So although it's thought out and it's a machine, at the end of the day, I'm doing those things anyway. So I don't really, I have to think about programming and things of nature, but that's also my trade that I spend a lot of time on, 20 plus years. That's why businesses with a team, me and you working together, like, they definitely, I mean, the thought-provoking nature of it is a challenge because it's not like my bread and butter. You know, anything that has to do with lifting weights and diet is like your sales. It's like second nature because it's like your DNA.
Right.
That's what it feels like to me. At this point, it feels like I got code inside of me that
it just flies out of you.
It literally does. And I think that's where like probably people get on to the styles of things I do and they stay on it, and I retain them as clients on the site because it literally is I think it's one of my gifts and passions for sure. I can help people literally change their life or body just because I just know it so well.
So, so many people.
But let me finish the answer to the question though.
Yeah.
The other businesses that we operate that have teams, I feel like I've gotten better at it. I still have to get better at it, but I've operated really solo for a long time. And as you know, and you're like, I don't think you really had a partner before. And I thought I did, but I really not compared to how we operate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't think to your point, even my gym business, Dustin and I owned it together, but we ran our separate LLCs as personal training. So we really still operated solo. We never shared. So we just,
Money.
you know, the gym was something we could always agree on. That's easy. Right. Like, oh, you want a new treadmill? Cool, we need one. No big deal. Right. Like, you know what I'm saying? But when you operate your own LLCs, you're still solo. So if you think about it, since 1999, I've essentially been a solo operator.
Right.
So this is the first time where I've, you know, operated with a team like this, even though I had 70 employees at Muscle Farm, but I wasn't in charge of them. Someone else was.
Gotcha. So many people believe, and you probably can't disprove them, that you take drugs, undeniably. And
except for when you see me in person, I'm not that big.
Yeah, but big and development and all that stuff. Now, I'll tell you, before we became partners, I believed that you were on growth hormone.
Really?
100%.
That's amazing. This has never came out before, everybody.
100%.
That means you really think I'm jacked, John. Thanks. Or lean, one of the two.
Yeah, no. Just you know, obviously developed and lean, all that stuff. But then I can truly say, not being convinced by anybody, but just observing that I know that you're not.
Sure.
Based on
being around me this much,
based on the commitment. So I guess, what do you say to the people who are like, one, you're fucking retarded, I'm not saying this, to do what you do and not put a needle in you, because you would do so much more. So
what would I say to them?
What would you say to them?
So I would argue what would be more, right? The only thing that would change is if at a competitive level, if I tried to be like fucking Mr. Olympia or some shit, which my genetics aren't for that anyway, right? And I think that here's really what it come down to is I was like, it's going to take me longer. I'm going to not have the opportunities at 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Like, I knew I was going to have to like train till I was like in my 30s to get the opportunities the other guys were getting when they were on drugs younger. There was something that told me, because I always wanted to have a family, John, and I knew I was going to probably have boys. And this is just personal, I have a lot of friends that take drugs, and I don't have a problem when people actually don't lie about it at all. Right. I have a lot of friends that take steroids. More than half the industry takes steroids. I'm like one of the, I'm like 90%. I think I'm like one of the outliers. I know for sure. And I'm starting to get like OG respect for it too. But I think it's like, I just didn't want to like sit down with my kid one day and be like, you know, I did this or that, but I took steroids, which is a drug, no matter how you fucking look at it, right? To me, it's not no different than cocaine or meth, or maybe not as bad as meth, but it's like one of those things where it's still...
Really? You look at it like that?
I do look at it like that.
Interesting. So I want to ask you about that.
But let me finish my thought real quick, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so to me, steroids were created for people that were having muscle wasting, that are sick. That's why they're created. They have a place. So I don't want people like, oh, they were created for people that are sick, that are losing muscle at such a degree that they need these things to stay alive. That's why they were created, right? And for racehorse money, basically.
For horses.
Yeah, right? That's where it's all from equine.
Right.
So for me, I just had a view on it that was like, what if I can build a physique and build strength and get every ounce of my genetic fucking material out of it? it's going to take a lot of work, but I thought, what is the true limit that I can get myself to? And can I be known for that? I think I will be when it's all said and done. I hope so.
Absolutely. So you think that steroids, which many would say could have psychoactive effects in the form of aggression, but are not technically psychoactive compounds, you think they're as dangerous as like a cocaine?
Yeah. You know why?
Yeah.
Because when your confidence shoots through the roof, maybe I've never taken cocaine before, or snorted or whatever. Maybe
I have. It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
As
So,
Rick James said.
maybe
Yeah.
it's I don't know. Maybe it's similar to this, Johnny. You could speak on it,
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's like when your confidence, because of synthetic nature, drives through the roof. One, you feel like you're a big bad motherfucker. One, you're 100 pounds stronger. One, you're way bigger. And then when you take it away, the downside of what you see in that mirror is deeply depressive, bro. These guys have some crazy swings. So to me, how can that not be looked upon as that, right? Same as anything else, I think. And the side effects, does anybody died taking steroids? Like, I don't know. Maybe the abuse of steroids over 20 years, a lot of people have died from it, I believe, right? And other complications.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people like, no one's died from taking steroids. You know, you hear that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's like anything that, to me, like synthetically can drastically change your life that quickly when you take it away, that seems like just too much of a slippery slope for me.
So for the devil's advocate who would say, well, listen to this guy. He's never taken the stuff. You could cycle on. You could cycle off it. You would say what to that?
I would say, that's obviously your personal opinion, and you can do what you want. I just think that, there's a drawback to it. I don't care what anyone says. There has to be. How could there not be? Because even, dude, in this industry, what's it called, muscle dysmorphia, where some guys, you know what I'm talking about?
Reverse of anorexia.
It's a reverse of anorexia.
Yeah,
and I think, now does steroids give you muscle I don't know, but I think that could happen way faster when it truly has to changes your chemistry.
Yeah.
Now you can change your chemistry in a drug-free, nature by manipulating, by using supplements, by these things, but I don't think the swings, in my opinion, are drastic enough to put you into like something deep like that, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
That is speaking on it from a non-scientific way,
right.
From
No
just
experience,
experience of 20 years of being around people that take steroids off and on.
So you have a crew that you coach in the morning, 4 a.m. Crew, and let's say a couple of them are strong, and you find out
strong.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just giving
I
you a
got you.
hypothetical. Yeah.
They're out. That's the answer. They're out.
If they take it,
100%. No
So
question. It says drug-free raw lifting records.
Gotcha. So if
In that crew, is there people
Gotcha.
that work out at my
Sure.
gym that probably take steroids? Of course, I don't put any time into them. I don't know them, but people in my crew that I actually coach,
Okay.
that I take as a team, that's basically operates like a club.
Sure.
That's not, at this point, it's at the strongest level it's ever been.
Okay.
If 1,000% I could prove it or knew it or even suspected one, I would call them out straight up. And if I thought it was right, like if I was right, then I would kick them out.
What measures would you take? Like, what if some guys were grumbling around the gym? Hey, that dude over there, he's fucking
I would
juiced."
I would go at him first, personally.
Okay.
And look, you can only do so much, Johnny. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I would, if I knew I was right, I'd just
Judgment call.
revoke their membership and say you're just not welcome here anymore.
Gotcha.
Or at least not welcome with this. You want to train at a different time or not with us and not represent what I represent? That's cool, but I'm not going to represent and push you. No way.
Why don't more guys lift and try to build a career drug free?
That's a good question, John. I think it's it's easy to take a shortcut, man. It's the world we live in. It's IG. It's get bigger, have abs. I mean, there's a lot of guys, dude. All of the people we looked up to as kids, Hulk Hogan, Arnold, Sylvester, they all take them or have taken them, right? So it's just what it is. It's all documented. Arnold's my homeboy, but it's documented. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, and who's to say it didn't lead to amazing things for all of them, right? It has.
Looks like it has.
The Rock. I mean,
Hey, The Rock keeps getting younger and bigger.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's difficult. So it's not for everybody because it's a longer road.
Is that part of the appeal to you? That it's harder?
I think it is, because I think that's where I make my spot.
Gotcha.
Because I don't know that how would I look different or be that much different if I was just another one of those guys, not The Rock. Obviously, I'm not The Rock, but another guy that weighs 210, 220 and is ripped. There's a million of those fucking guys on IG that do this or that. I think part of my narrative is this, obviously hardworking blue collar guy that did it this way, and that if people think, man, that dude's got to be on drugs, then I'm winning because I've got it to the point where you think that. And it really comes down to because I'm crazily fucking consistent at well,
you're putting in the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I'm unapologetic about the way I look because of that time too. You know what I mean? Like that's, to me, it's like when motherfuckers try to call me out, I go right back at them on that stuff every time.
Do you think it's hard for you, based on the trailer background, to handle success and money? Or have you had challenges?
Handle it how?
Manage it, not get ahead of yourself, stuff like that.
I think there was one time when I was probably in my second gym, so I'd be like 23, 24. I think, and this isn't even close to this amount of money that we obviously create now. I got ahead of myself. I got kind of backwards a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to put myself in any binds like this ever again. So I think I had a couple credit cards that were ran up. A lot of it actually was business related, to be honest with you, but I think I just scaled a little too quick. I'm teaching myself on the fly, but no, I don't think so. I go on kind of what Mo said. It's like easy decisions. To me, if I want something that's material that doesn't stress any part of my life and I don't have to think about it twice, then no big deal.
Gotcha. Well, we're going to close with this one. I'm going to ask you to reach here for some advice.
Okay.
So outside of knowing the downfall or what would happen from going sideways on your wife, you're in the fitness business.
That'd be a big downfall.
Yeah. Outside of that.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll take that off the table, because I think every guy who amasses some form of success or some kind of good physique has to battle with this maybe their whole life. Mm-hmm. And I don't know facts, but it seems like you balance it pretty well. So outside of that, what advice would you give people outside of that, Rachel? And I know what I would lose. Like, what else could you give them outside of that?
Oh man, I think the best advice for that, John, is it's all staying out of situations you think that could blow up in your face. I think that I've done, if you use the Rachel example, like if I would go to big trade shows in Vegas or in these places, I just don't go out. Like I don't even put myself in the situation to even have somebody say something or somebody take a picture, or to even for 1 second for her to distrust me, because it has never been about that, right? I wasn't looking for my wife on spring break when I found her, believe me. You know what I'm saying? It just happened. And it's been so good for so many years. It's like to put myself in a situation that could even possibly risk that, no way. Same with anything, I think, that's morally for business. Part of the reason why I wanted to leave MP is because I just couldn't match up with the morals anymore. These guys I was working with, I was like, this just isn't me. And if I keep staying in this situation, it's guilty by default, bro. Right. I mean, if you're hanging out in Vegas and there's 9 guys at the whorehouse and you're one of the 9 guys, but you ain't banging the stripper, you're still one of the 9 guys at the whorehouse.
And it's just a matter of time.
You see what I'm saying? So I really think
I'm not saying I was there.
Yeah. But I think that's the way I've looked at things for so long. Look, some things you can't anticipate and you have to be able to operate
around. Yeah, you can't always be anticipatory.
Yeah. That is a word. John challenged me on it. It's in the dictionary.
No, right.
But I think that's probably like what I tell a lot of the young guys coming up that have families or whatever. They ask this question all the time, especially about the women. Like, man, I just don't put myself in this situation. Like, that's the thing that I found with Rach and the fam is something I've always wanted. Why would I risk it on something that is so short term? It just never made sense to me.
Got it. Like it. And I'm going to end the same way. you kind of ended with me and riding off into the sunset, or that idea. What is that with you or with you and your family?
I think
at this point.
Yeah, I think that what's interesting, I look at guys, we're talking about drugs, it's amazing. Louis Simmons is probably one of the people I look up to the most. And it's not...
He loves drugs.
And he's been taking drugs for 40 years. But he's
Big
unapologetic about it, which is part of my... But what I love about Louis is he's 70 still doing content. Selling content, coaching lifters, and in the samurai way, at the crazily level, I get it, right? For some reason. I just always have, ever since I really knew him. And I just think there's a part of that probably will never leave me. That's why when you tried to buy into Cory G Fitness, which I appreciated, and especially what you were trying to pay me.
I was pretty aggressive. Everyone listening, I was pretty aggressive.
It was amazing.
I made an aggressive offer.
And he said, hey, you got that pool going in right now.
This is pre-revenue. I was trying to hit all the strategic pieces.
It was amazing. But and I understand 1,000% why you did it. It made a bunch of sense.
Trying to finish that pool for you.
But the reasoning why was... One, I was trying to resist you because your sales are amazing and the offer is great. But two was because I really think it's something that doesn't end.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's a pure expression of you that you probably want to hear no one else's shit because it's a pure expression of you.
Exactly. And when I look at Louis and Westside, I see my thing essentially online, my crew, my gym. I see correlations there in my own way that probably doesn't really have a ride off to the sunset. It's just something I always do, right? And I think that I sold shares of a business, but I've never created and actually sold a full business, right? I sold a portion of what I owned at MP.
Yeah, right.
And so you've experienced that a couple times. And so I would love to, whenever we decide, we create businesses on the fly constantly. And it's like, to experience that, I think that would be really cool.
Right.
Now, I don't want to sell max effort or this podcast or the new CBD stuff we're working on or whatever, but it's like when that day comes, that will be a cool experience that will contribute towards the money that would be the ride off into the sunset money. Because I believe there will always be some type of revenue just because my fitness stuff probably just never really goes away. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, it was a good interview.
Absolutely, man.
I tried not to dodge into your questions.
No, and I didn't want to come too hard. You know, it's for everyone listening, you're very abnormal in that you are obsessed with something that most of us all do, but you look at it differently and you don't take it to the extreme with drugs. That's probably
where it's a little weird, huh?
No, not weird. I think that's where it's unique.
Oh, cool.
I think that's why it works, because most people who are obsessed with it, and there are many that are obsessed with it, they use drugs because they are obsessed with it.
I'm probably one of the more obsessed that's never used drugs.
And I think that is the differentiator that assists you in winning.
What's interesting, John, is like I've kind of used this narrative a little bit lately because everyone works out as a hobby. But for me, it's a whole different level. And I think that's what I try to explain. Like when somebody says, hey, my buddy says, do your curls this way, but your buddy sells insurance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's his hobby.
Right.
This is my fucking life.
Well, right.
So there's a lot of things that are like that people partake in. And obviously you did it as a professional, so I'm not talking about you, but but that's like a narrative that happens a lot.
Oh, I can imagine. And what I gather is, and we've touched on this before, is that and you say it in your own way. You may not say it directly or just have said it directly, but what it does for your mental health is probably why you never fucked with drugs.
Yeah. I think it is. I think it is my drug.
Right.
Literally. And I think that, look, we all have components of our parents in us. You don't want to be like your old man. I don't want to be like my old man. We all
got the DNA in us, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course we do. And so we all battle, and I see signs of it. I'm sure you see signs of it.
That's a fact.
And I think being aware, working on ourselves, finding the things that we do keeps us away from being those people.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely, man. Listen, I appreciate the honesty. I love it. I think this is an interesting component. And what I love, like I said before, is everyone who listens to us, I think they need to know a little bit more about the people they're listening to.
We need to do this with Mo too.
Absolutely.
All right, so it's brought to you by LinkedIn, John. If you're an employer out there, we're going to give you $50, John.
Hey,
Post.
50. Don't overlook $50.
$50 is $50, man.
Listen, you could take 2 people out to lunch somewhere
Texas
for $50.
Roadhouse.
There's an Outback with a bloomin' onion somewhere.
So that's an amazing segue. But I say go to linkedin.com/biceps.
Yeah.
If you're an employer and like 70% of the world's on LinkedIn, they're a monster. You go to linkedin.com/biceps.
Yes.
$50.
And like Mo says, Mo literally,
Mo usually uses it constantly.
Yeah, Mo uses LinkedIn. That's where he hires all his professionals, and he has a business that's regulated by the government and all that stuff. So he is truly finding, from his testimonials, the best professionals on LinkedIn, and 70% of the workforce is on LinkedIn. So if you're a company,
huge.
Not only can you save $50, but you're going to find the best talent with the best filters, and it's the easiest to navigate.
And if you don't want to pay trading fees, you go to Robinhood, John.
That's a fact. But first, you got to go to the App Store.
Yes.
Or go to biceps.robinhood.com. Yeah. Okay. And then you get a free share of Apple, Ford, or Sprint, and you don't pay trading fees. And you have all this information on this market that some would say is good to get into. Okay. So we don't want you guys paying trading fees because they add up. They add up to a lot of money. And I want you to understand that every other trading platform charges you fees that add up to thousands of dollars. When you buy and when you sell, Robinhood charges you none.
We love you, Robinhood. All right. Maurice Claret's Ghosts. Johnny Fosco. Can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast
Can't be stopped.